Before we get to that, though, Eric, we'll start with the 125 with Hildebrandt and Lujan.
Yeah, and I think to note with Tristan Lujan, one of these guys who you're not going to see in mid-shape form. He's still working to get back to that. How about this? He broke his hand at the Michigan State Open. And this guy's so tough. He continued to broke his hand in the first period of the Michigan State Open in the match and continued to wrestle 2 full periods with a broken hand. But, yeah, he's starting to get back to the shape he was prior to, because you can be in shape. There's a thing as conditioning, but once you get on this mat, it is completely different than anything you're going to do on the bike or drilling.
Everything else just goes out the window.
Out the window. Well, you're seeing here, Lujan control the inside ties, and now Hildebrandt pushes him out of bounds. And Hildebrandt looks big for a 25-pounder. When these guys stand up, Hildebrandt is nearly a head taller than Tristan Lujan.
What can length for a guy like that do for him here?
Well, for Lujan, what he has to do is make sure his ankles are tucked. When he gets to a shot, you know that Drew Hildebrandt is going to be looking to scramble. So making sure his ankles are covered whenever he gets to a shot. And if he does get to a shot, he has to focus on finishing quick. It has to be that second effort, that second level. It can't just be the shot and then stop. It has to be shot, work to your finish right away. And if Drew Hildebrandt does stop that initial shot, it has to be what's going to be that secondary option. And Drew Hildebrandt gets deep on a swing single here. And what he's going to have to do is shelf that to his right hip. He's going to want to finish this. Beautiful. Cuts his head to the outside.
First points on the board for Hildebrandt. He did lose on Friday against Nick Suriano, but that's the #1 guy in the 125, and he held his own, just a 2-1 loss.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. I was expecting Suriano to put up more points than 2 against Drew Hildebrandt, but this is where he makes his money. You know, coming from Central Michigan, being Borelli built, like Justin Oliver, who we're seeing in the corner of Michigan State. These guys from Central Michigan know how to ride. He understands where his hips have to be, and you see all of the pressure is going on that lower back of Tristan Lujan. But this also raises the question, where do you go in the second or third period? Penn State will have choice in the odd matches, but when it does become choice for Tristan Lujan, what is he going to do? Because you're seeing this, it's going to be tough to make his money at least here today in the down position.
Riding time already to a minute in this first period for Hildebrandt as we wind down the last couple seconds.
But if you're looking at this as a positive, no back points and no stall call, so heads into the second period, only down 2-0 out there, and at least trying to sacrifice something, because, I mean, you don't like to see zeros on the scoreboard for either guy, but Tristan Lujan has to start to, that's how you get your confidence going. You're going to have to start to work to some sort of offense, and it starts with building to a tie, and you're seeing that here, getting to his ties early, but now you want to see him get to that shot and then once again get to his finish.
And we know how good Penn State's back half of the lineup is, so they want points here early. Michigan State does if they want a chance.
Get a slide by there for Hildebrandt as he pick up his second takedown. And you're seeing that left elbow staying tight, and that left elbow was staying tucked to his hip, and what that was doing was allowing Tristan Lujan to build a base and not let that left leg in. But as soon as there was a little space, that's where Drew Hildebrandt took advantage of the position and threw in that second boot. And look at those knees. Those knees are staying pinched together, and what that's doing is you want to build one up at a time to start to build some sort of base. And as soon as he does that, Hildebrandt's throwing that leg in. So what you're seeing Lujan do down there is keep those knees together, and that's keeping his hips flat. And it's one of those things where you're not allowing the knees to come in, or the legs to come in, excuse me, but you're still giving up the riding time. So it's kind of one of those double-edged swords.
Yep. Getting down to the latter stages of the second period. Hildebrandt up 4-0. Riding time up to 2.5 minutes now. Lujan gets to his feet.
Would be great if he could pick up at least one. So Red's choice is going to be down, and that'll be Hildebrandt to start period number 2. This has to be a tough ride here. Great to stop that initial first move. That's what you want to see for Lujan. Now he comes with a tight waist on that left side. Went claw ride. Has to go big lift here. Runs out of bounds. Does Lujan. We're back to the center. No change in position. It's going to be Hildebrandt still in the down position. 14 seconds into the third period.
If you're Lujan, here is the mindset. Go hard. Try to tie it up. Take it longer, or are you just trying to avoid that major decision?
No, for him, he's still in this match. Being down 4 points, one turn completely changes this match. You know you're going to need a turn and then a takedown, but what you can't do, that's great. Understanding the situation, and once again, he is not in mid-season form. Broke his hand, and I believe this is his 3rd or 4th match, so he's going to continue to improve as the year goes on. You know, you like to see guys peak towards the end of the season, but for him, it has to be there has to be a sense of urgency because he doesn't have as much time. But then again, there's not as much wear on his body, especially understanding that these Michigan State Spartans wrestled Monday, Friday, and now Sunday.
Right.
That's 3 Big Ten duels to hold your weight down in 7 days. I've never seen anything like it. So I would just say, first off, props to the Michigan State Spartan coaching staff for keeping these guys not only prepared, but keeping them focused. Especially after a great win on Friday night against a top 14 team in the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
And we were talking before we came on the broadcast about how unique that is in college sports and how difficult that is, all the things you have to think about just so you can make weight on game day.
Yeah, you know what? And it was put pretty simple from Coach Tom Ryan from the Ohio State Buckeyes, and speaking with him before their duel a couple of weeks ago. He said, I think it is the most unique thing in all of college sports. You think about it. Basketball players don't have to do as 1 hour weigh-in to have your body not only cut down 1 hour before, but this would be huge here if he could pick up this takedown. Lujan has to start to work back to the center of the mat. Now he has to get his head up. His head is stuck down, but you're seeing that right foot stay in bounds as Mike McCormick, our head official, calls the out of bounds, and we're back to the center. Positive there. We saw him get to his tie. We saw him get to his shot. Third is going to be that finish. But back to what Coach Tom Ryan was saying. It is the most unique thing for you to weigh in 1 hour before a duel and then compete with the best wrestlers in the country on an hour's notice is something that only wrestling has to do. And another slide by for Hildebrandt as he not only picks up the takedown, but also gets the major decision.
Right.
So a 1-point team swing right there.
So we wind down and the horn goes. So Hildebrandt, a 7-0 win in the first one, or 8. Put another point on the board. So 4 to Penn State after that first match. This is where we were talking about. We thought we might see Roman Bravo Young here for Penn State, and he would go against Rayvon Foley. Instead, it's Baylor Shunk for Penn State here in the first period of the 133.
Yeah, and I did notice that Roman Bravo Young has made the trip. He is here on the Penn State bench. Would have been something to pay attention to. I would have loved to see Roman Bravo Young in action. Obviously, one of the most.
Anytime you got a 1 next to that name, right? You just want to watch that.
And he's one of those guys that takes a different approach to wrestling, something that you don't normally see. If you check out his Instagram or any social media channels, big into his transition next year to MMA, trains with Dominic Cruz, former UFC champion. They focus a lot on footwork, and that's not something that you see a lot with wrestlers, is putting a lot of attention on their footwork. But Roman Bravo Young has done that and also done a great job of marketing himself and the RBY, the brand.
When you got one of those triple names like that, and you got that acronym, you got to use that.
Yeah, does a great job, and you're seeing Rayvon Foley get to his strong position here in top, doing a great job of riding that cross wrist ride. And also, if you notice, he's not just right side tight waist, he's also left side tight waist. So he's changing his position on the different sides of the body. Now he's riding tough with that right hand on that tight waist, looking for that cross wrist to come. And I think the coaching staff is going to say, hey, you have to match bonus points now. Drew Hildebrandt just picked up 4. Rayvon Foley has to pick up 4 here. We saw it in the duel against Rutgers. We talked about Sebastian Rivera coming out, picking up a big 5 for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights on Friday night. Who from the Michigan State Spartans was going to be able to match that 5-point bonus point? We saw Lane Mulcheski pick up 6, so he one-upped Rutgers and Sebastian Rivera, and now you need that here tonight with Rayvon Foley.
Yep. Gonna need that and more probably if they want a chance, the MSU Spartans. Rayvon Foley doing well here in this first period, already up 4-1, and riding time almost adds up to the full period.
Yeah, doing a great job, and his position is remarkable on top. And another thing with him is he's also it is the middle of the season, but he's moving up from 125 to 133, so he's still growing into the weight class. You see coming in with a 20-2 record, and he's having some success, but he's going to be more successful later on in the season than he is now. He's really still trying to figure out the leverage, the angles, the strength. Everything is completely different from 125 to 133, although it doesn't seem like a big difference in 8 pounds, but it is remarkable, the change that you see in guys at 125 to 133.
How would you analyze how he's done in that move of weight classes?
You know what, I would say he still has a few areas to improve in, but overall it's been a near seamless transition. I think the strength is going to be the biggest thing. You're seeing from the top position, he's still dominating as he was, but what I would like to see more from him, I would take a page out of Sebastian Rivera's book from Rutgers. One of the biggest changes that he had is Coach Scott Goodale said he went from being a wrestler looking to dominate and ride on top to a wrestler looking to ride and turn on top, and Rayvon Foley has to do that. He has to add back points to his repertoire, because the 2 minutes is cool for riding time, but at the same time you get 1 point for that riding time, as opposed to the 4 points for a near fall.
This is different than what we saw on Friday from the 133. Rayvon Foley already up 7-1. It was only 1-0 in that 133 matchup on Friday.
And now he gets that cross wrist, and what he likes to do here is either roll through or keep that side, but Shunk doing a good job of coming up to his feet, fighting hands, picking a side, gets his hips out, and one for the escape. But this is where Foley wants to be. They feel that you could either waste time on top or you can just go pick up takedown after takedown. Oh, this is dangerous. Shunk. Close. And look how calm Coach Cale Sanderson is. Coach Jimmy Kennedy, Coach Cody Sanderson in the corner. And how close was this to being a takedown? Mike McCormick gave the 2, waved it off. Tell you what I wouldn't want to do is make those split-second decisions as a referee.
No, not for me. That's why we're over here on the table next to the mat, not on the mat, right?
Foley has to get back to that 2-on-1. He was successful in the first period in getting the 2-on-1 to the takedown, and he has to do that again. Great period.
So we head into the last period of this matchup. What's the mindset here if you're Penn State, down 5, do you attack? Do you wait a little bit to see what happens?
The first order of business is head up, work for the 1 point for the escape. Take it 1 point at a time here. And you saw Shunk come up to his feet. But that's what you can't do off the whistle. Head down, hips down. That's where you're either going to give up more riding time or you're going to get the ref on you for a stall call. But Rayvon Foley doing a great job of chopping on that left side. And he could pick up points here from either side, but he gets to that cross wrist, and this is where he brings the pressure over to that right hip. And pay attention to this bottom leg. So you have the bottom leg with the knee pointed up to the sky, and that left leg is the kick leg. So what that's doing is working the hips over. But as I say that, you're seeing Shunk start to trap that bottom leg, and he's able to get his hip down and not give up any back points. Foley again, just a dominant performance on top. 3 minutes and 28 seconds of riding time, and it is absolutely brutal to be getting to give up 3 minutes and 30 seconds of riding time, because he may look like he's just down there hanging out, but he's working to get up, and it's been nearly 4 minutes of him trying to work to his feet, but Rayvon Foley is just continuing to keep that pressure on in the top position, doing a great job for these Michigan State Spartans.
Is that maybe the strongest part of his game?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. And that's where he's going to win matches. That's where he has won matches. When you see guys who are All-Americans, you have to have the ability to wrestle on your feet, top and bottom. And mat wrestling is one of those differentiating factors when it comes to being on the podium in March. And Rayvon Foley, that is the reason he's been so successful, is his seamless transition from high school to college with his ability to wrestle on the mat. And Shunk, not getting the escape yet. Rayvon is technically, you're still seeing this riding time tick up because the referees are looking at this as green, still in control. Okay. If you're Shunk, what you need to do is clear your hips. You need to focus on getting the 1 before you get the 2, and he doesn't do it.
More than 4.5 minutes of riding time for Rayvon Foley. He takes that one for Michigan State, 7-2. So they don't get that bonus point. They were close, but it's 4-3 Penn State after Penn State matching up against Matt Santos.
And this is another guy. You're going to see Nick Lee continuing to push the pace. He is so aggressive. Realistically, if wrestling could have 100% Nick Lees, that's what it would take to get us to the level of UFC. This is a guy where you could build a program around, build a sport around, because he is exciting to watch. You're not going to see him hang in many positions. If he is going to get to a tie, his main focus is to get to that tie and get to his shot, get to a finish. He's not here to play around. He is here to continue to wrestle for 7 consecutive minutes, and that's the problem. He's never content.
No. We saw on Friday he won with a tech fall against Drew Matton. I don't want to gloss over that one on Friday either, because that was a 1 versus 3 matchup and a 23-point win.
Yeah, that's one you want to forget about if you're the Michigan Wolverines, especially coming into the duel. You know, one of those 1 versus 3 duels. It's a top 3 ranked matchup. They had expectations to potentially upset.
There was hype around the whole thing, and I don't think it went maybe the way. Obviously, I think Penn State was still the favorite, and everyone expected them to win, but not in the fashion that they did.
No. And Nick Lee is running this bar arm, and it is putting a lot of pressure on that right shoulder of Matt Santos. But Santos comes up to his feet, and now Nick Lee right back in his face. You're seeing that right side heavy collar tie. Then he comes underhook on the left side, and he's continuing to move. And this is what you don't know. You see the right hand coming, so you try to go right hand inside, and then the left hand is all of a sudden come to an underhook. So you have to be 2 steps ahead of yourself if you're going to be 2 steps ahead of Nick Lee.
And that is not an easy thing to do.
It's not. It's tiring to wrestle like this. You can prepare yourself for 7 minutes in the room, but you're never going to be able to prepare yourself for a guy like Nick Lee. But Matt Santos, I mean, he's another guy, and this is the thing. When I asked Coach Chris Williams earlier today, when he said that Jordan Hamden, the redshirt sophomore, will not be in the lineup. We're actually going to throw in Matt Santos. And I said, well, what's the reasoning behind throwing in Santos over Hamden? as we see Nittany pick up another takedown. And he said, these guys, I don't want to use the word equal because that sets the wrong tone for it. But what he said was, these guys both give us something different. And for Matt Santos, he's an older, more experienced guy than the sophomore. He's a graduate senior, and he understands hand fighting a little better than Jordan Hamden, and Jordan Hamden's eventually going to get there. But for this matchup tonight, we feel that Matt Santos would be a better fit against Nittany because of his understanding of hand fighting.
So 4-1 at the end of that first period. Santos, you can sort of see that experience coming through, and it's going to take a lot of it to wrestle a guy like Nittany. And 4-1 down against number 1 seed. You say maybe he's still in it, but a lot of work to be done if he wants to even get any closer than 3 points at the end of this.
Yeah, and look, there's no secret here for the Michigan State Spartans. The Penn State Nittany Lions, ranked number 1 in the country, 12-0, 4-0 in the Big Ten. Are they favored? We're not hiding that as Michigan State Spartans. That we understand that there's an uphill battle, right? The program for the Michigan State Spartans is we're on the right path to get to where we want to be, but at the same time, these guys are not going to just bow down to the Penn State Nittany Lions because they're 12-0, because they have a number 1 next to their name, because rankings are done by somebody else that is not in the wrestling room 7 days a week like these guys are. The guys doing the rankings are not cutting the weight. They're not sacrificing the hours and hours that these athletes are. So they're focused on themselves. These Michigan State, as I said in the opening, they're not saying we have to wrestle Penn State. They're saying we get to wrestle Penn State.
Opportunity to get better at the end of the day, too.
That's all it is.
We saw before we started here today, all the wrestlers were running around with the mat with smiles on their face.
That's nothing that the trainer can't fix as we get back to action here, 1:04 left in period 2. But what an opportunity in front of a packed house here in Jennison Fieldhouse to welcome the number 1 team.
Yep.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Santos, the strength, because look at that. Nittany, hips down, shoelaces on the mat, technique exactly perfect, exactly how you teach it. But the strength on Santos to hold that. Props to the Spartan. Shot attempt again, great job. But he's shooting to that opposite side of the body. You see how his head was on one side? And that's tough. Minor adjustment there. I mean, that's something you can build off. And this is what I said with Lujan. You saw Matt Santos taking shots, and although that he didn't finish, I mean, he's going to, once you have that confidence to get out there and just pull the trigger, it's something you can't teach. And you can tell a guy as a coach, we need you to shoot more, but Matt Santos is out there trying to put points on the board. And I'm not saying Tristan Lujan's not trying to put points on the board, but that's what he has to do. He may have to sacrifice giving up the takedown at some point to get a takedown, but with that broken hand, that'll come.
Two minutes left to go. Lee up 7-1. Penn State up 4-3 after the first 2. Riding time just over 2 minutes for Nittany as well, as Matt Santos tries to escape.
And Santos has to continue to fight that. He turns the opposite way and is giving up near fall. He fought as hard as he could. That was just Nittany with leverage on that shoulder. And at that point, you either give up your season and continue to try and fight that shoulder down, or just give up the 2 for the near fall. Great for the Spartan to get out of there, only giving up 2. But Nittany now leads 9-1 and has a cross wrist again, looking for more near fall. Santos fighting that left hip down, and it's just not enough as he rolls through 2 additional back points. And that's where you would like to see Santos slide that left knee up and work to build a base.
You can just see him fighting.
He's fighting. Matt Santos is out there, and I'll tell you what, when the Michigan State coaching staff said they have a problem on their hands at 141 trying to figure out who do you put, Hamden or Matt Santos, both are viable options, but the showing from Santos here against a guy like Nick Lee is something you can build on. Looking out there, taking risks, fighting as hard as he can for his brothers. And the most impressive thing about this Michigan State team all season is their willingness to fight for their brothers. We talk about Brad Wilton, that guy at 285 pounds coming into this thing weighing 207 pounds, picking up match-deciding victories against Lockhaven, match-deciding victories against Indiana. Undersized, but what he lacks in size, he makes up for in heart. That's just a testament to this team, fighting for each other.
So Nick Lee takes that one. Major decision, as good as advertised. Matt Santos. Peyton Amania taking on Bo Bartlett.
Bo knows edits on Instagram, graphic designer. But this is the thing. So Peyton Amania here working on that right side 2-on-1. And Chris Williams said these guys, the associate head coach for Michigan State, said these two have never wrestled before, and one thing about wrestling Peyton for the first time is you just never know where the headlock is going to come from. A Greco-Roman world team member, Greco-Roman junior world bronze medalist back in 2019 in Tallinn, Estonia. Also had junior world experience in Trnava, Slovakia in 2018, but in 2021 he made that next step to the senior level and competed at Team USA. Lost to Hassaret Jafarov of Azerbaijan in the opening round in Oslo, Norway. But he is a guy, and if you remember back when he wrestled Kanan Storr for the University of Michigan last year, is a guy that has the ability to bring an entire crowd to their feet with his high-flying headlocks. And they come from the right side, from the left side. So Peyton Amania coming out here, doing a great job of getting to his offense. And I asked Coach Williams, there was a clear difference from Peyton on Monday night to Friday night, and that's not something you usually have a quick turnaround for, is seeing stylistically changes.
Yeah.
But to me, it was his understanding of, hey, I'm coming out here and I'm trying to put 6 on the board in the first period, and I can't do that in the Big Ten.
Right.
What I have to do is wrestle more methodically. What I have to do is control the match better, and that's what he's doing here. You're starting to see him become a match manager, and there goes the headlock.
Oh, and the escape.
It was
You said it could come from anywhere, and it came in about a split second.
From the left side, too. And that's the thing you have to be aware of is nobody throws headlocks on the left side. So when you get hit with it, it's so unconventional and so unorthodox.
Probably never had to practice against it or anything.
Yeah. And that's like, like letting the air out of the balloon. The Penn State fans.
Yeah, you can hear that gasp throughout the entire Jennison Fieldhouse.
But for Peyton, again, and it's in some ways it's unfair when you're this great at Greco-Roman because wrestlers don't engage with you as much. They want to be in this open position. Peyton would prefer to wrestle in a phone booth in close quarters. He wants to be trapped in space so he can get to that headlock. But on the other side, wrestlers want to be wide open. They don't want to tie up with him. No one wants to get thrown. That's like getting dunked on. You don't want to be posterized.
No. You check out, look, just how quick that came.
But props to Bo Bartlett.
Yeah. Well, and you know, too, this is, I mean, once we got 15 seconds in, this one lasted longer than Bo Bartlett's did on Friday night when it just lasted 13 seconds. Got the near fall, and after the takedown, got the injury default, obviously, and couldn't
Yeah. And
Keep
for
going.
Matt
Cole Matten.
Cole
right?
Matten, yeah, we just want to make sure we send out our condolences.
Yep.
Understand, and I don't have an official injury update. We'll just say lower body. We'll keep it there. But from the looks of it, we just wish him a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
The Matten family, great family. And it just seems, oh, the duck. And that's where he usually throws his secondary shot off. That would be, when I say shot, I mean headlock. His secondary offensive move from that duck would be go duck, and then when his opponent clears his hips, backs out, is when you see that headlock come.
And you see, sort of the battle scars from all that, the movement with the head. There's a gash, it looks like, on Peyton Amania's left cheek. Not really bleeding, but
no.
From here, it kind of just looks like a red mark, maybe a cut.
Yeah, I see it now.
But when they're just shooting at each other and then, rubbing heads like as much as they are.
.30 seconds left. Has to be smart here. Peyton can't give up a stall call here, so he has to circle either way. And now you're starting to see him get to that underhook. And anytime your heels are to the out-of-bounds line, the referee, if you go out of bounds, the referee is going to hit the guy who steps out first. So for Peyton, he has to continue to work the center. Right now, I would say Bo Bartlett's controlling the center more. And for Peyton to get out of this period, trailing 1-1. You want a season-turning match? Put a 15 next to a guy's name and pick up a win.
That
and
could
see
be
see how quick the confidence changes.
Yeah. He lost to number 14 on Friday night in Rutgers' Michael Van Brilt. A 3-1 loss. We get knotted up at 1-1. I think that point came about 20, 25 seconds ago from Bartlett, so all tied up, 90 seconds to go.
It's one shot. But this is what Chris Williams said. I feel like Peyton's trying to figure out which attack he wants to get to, because people so often stop that upper body is that he forgets he's so good at upper body. He forgets that he also has a great ability to get to shots. And when you think about this is kind of like the run-pass game in football. You have that option of passing after, and Bo Bartlett gets to a swing single.
Gets the 2 points. Up 3-1, less than a minute to go.
Peyton has to get that left hip down, clear that left leg, come up to his feet. He's on the out-of-bounds line, so Bartlett,
he's trying to hold that toe inside. He goes out, get the whistle.
And we'll go back against Mikey Van Brill for Rutgers on Friday night. Peyton went down in period number 3 and gave up 2 consecutive minutes of riding time. So this, I'm sure, one of the messages after that duel was find a way. You're in the Big Ten. You have to find a way to get up, especially in the third period in a close match. And now look where we are. Same scenario that we were on Friday night. Peyton Amania down with 39 seconds left. He needs an escape and a takedown to win this thing. Goes to Granby roll. Great job.
Gets the escape.
And I'll tell you, the biggest difference from Friday night to here is his initial move off the whistle. He did not move off the whistle on Friday night. He did that here. And just a great job for Peyton. I mean, I'm talking from Monday to now, he's a completely different wrestler. If you go watch that Indiana match to Friday night against Rutgers and then Sunday here against the Penn State Nittany Lions, this is the Peyton Amania that Michigan State recruited. This is the guy that they want to see.
He's working for it. Less than 10 seconds to go. He needs a point. Hello.
And there's your first stall warning.
Single digits on the clock. You can see he already wants to go. He's going for it. He tried.
That's okay.
He tried for it. That's all you can ask. But Bartlett just shows that he's got that number 15 next to his name for a reason, and he gets the win. He got 2 points at the end there, so a 5-2 win for Bartlett over Amania, but I think that was the most fun we've had here yet today. Terrell Barraclaw, two guys that have actually wrestled before, Eric.
Yeah, I believe they met at the Freak Show, but this had to be...
And that's the name of the event, right?
The Freak Show in Las Vegas. Maybe... I mean, it was when they were in junior high, so that had to be maybe a good 10 years ago, near 10 years ago,
right.
But Barraclaw, I believe, coached by Coach Cale Sanderson's father.
So there's a little bit of familiarity here, but it's been a while.
Yeah, and Chase won that match at the Freak Show, but it was a close match. And now Soldati working on a swing single, comes up to his feet. Great job by Soldati to, oh, that's as close. And now he's going to have to come up, shelf that on his hip, and he catches the leg and puts 2 on the board. And I'm not sure, they're probably going to take a look at this. We're going to go no takedown.
The Michigan State crowd not agreeing with that one.
No, that was referee Troy Bowie coming in and waving it off, saying they went out of bounds. And if you imagine a cylinder drawn all the way up to the sky, if all supporting body parts go out of bounds and there's nothing left, then that's out of bounds. But if there's a toe, you name it, if there's anything on the body part still in bounds, then you're good to go. But here, Barraclaw getting to a swing single, has that shelved on his right hip, doing everything he has to. But Soldati, he's young. You may see he's a sophomore, but I mean, he has the experience of a vet with the big matches that he's been in. Southern Scuffle Finals a couple of weeks ago. So this guy has top-level talent for the Michigan State Spartans. Barraclaw pushing Soldati to the out-of-bounds line, snaps. Now a high-level shot for Barraclaw. As Soldati comes, both hands inside tie, both hands collar tied, not something you see very often. Leaves the legs vulnerable. But now Barraclaw working to get to a wrist. Now smart for Soldati, and this is where he's so successful. His movement on his feet, his understanding of angles is something that you can't coach. And now look at this. Barraclaw switches to the double collar ties. Man, the motion from these guys, both of them. Again, Barraclaw gets to a single leg. And this is where the knee. But that pressure, you're seeing Soldati whizzer down. All that pressure is going on the shoulder. You're seeing him, and this is where we had a stalemate a little bit earlier. And what Barraclaw is trying to do is sneak that left leg all the way to the left hip of Soldati, but Soldati gets out of the period again. So let's take a look at this. This is a single leg. Soldati has to get around to that second leg.
Is that hand right on the?
Yeah, that's 2.
We still got, there's still a toe.
2. I mean, I think it's definitely too late to review it, but I would say the left pinky of Barraclaw was in bounds.
So the initial call you're saying was probably right before they chalked it off.
I would have reviewed it.
Okay.
I would have, if I was a referee, I would have taken some time. I mean, knowing how big 2 points can be in a Big Ten duel.
Well, it's especially interesting that they called it as 2 first.
Yeah.
And then discussed it.
Yeah.
And said no points.
I would have preferred that they came over, reviewed it, but either way, it's one of those, once again, it's one of those split-second things that you need a magnifier. You know,
Yeah, we have the slow-mo replay where the camera's all the way zoomed in.
And we're still questioning it.
Right. Again, why we don't want to do what they do. We'd rather be here.
Bear Claw riding tough. And now Soldati has to continue to sit in this pocket, get his hips as low as he can. And now picks up the 1 point for the escape. Riding time at 1:12, and that's not a factor. And you may think it's going to be a factor, but understanding that Chase Soldati's prime position is top, you're guessing maybe Bear Claw doesn't go down to start period number 2, and that forces Soldati or Bear Claw to get out to their offense. But I think that's what Penn State probably is thinking right now. What do you want to do in period number 3? Do we maintain that 1:12 in riding time and put Bear Claw down and expect him to get out in 12 seconds against a guy who is great on top like Chase Soldati, or do we stay on our feet and this thing is tied 1-1 and we allow Bear Claw, who we've seen in the first period, get to 2 deep swing singles, try to pick up the first takedown of the match?
It will come down to that third period, a 1-0 at the end of the second. Check out the escape.
Yeah, that was just Chase Soldati not taking no for an answer. He wanted to get out. So Bear Claw goes down to start period number 3. Soldati goes half on the left side, riding that deep, and inside thigh pry on the right side. Now he's putting all the weight on that left foot of Bear Claw. Riding time now no longer a factor. Soldati riding that half. And this could be dangerous. Bear Claw fighting that left foot. You see he found the heel. And Soldati has to work his heels up. He's comfortable here. And this is something you don't like to see as a coach. Guys who are comfortable in these weird situations. Yeah. But Bear Claw is in great position to at least pick up 2.
That looks like he does.
He does pick up the reversal, but now Soldati sitting low back in that pocket. And now Soldati working for a takedown, gets to a high-level shot. Wow.
Knotted at 2.
Knotted at 2. These guys are battling. Takedown wins it. 1 minute left. What is your go-to takedown? What is the last thing you work on before leaving practice every day? Your go-to takedown. 1 minute left.
Obviously, they need upsets on the backside, but if Michigan State wants a chance to even get it in the backside, they need points here from Soldati.
Soldati takes a shot from the open position, gets caught underneath, but great job by him to continue to build back up. Working to the inside ties, 27 seconds left. Soldati needs to get that motion going again. High crotch attempt, gets his hands locked, comes up to his feet, and he has to be slow on this finish. He has to be calculated and methodical. Chase Soldati coming up through the middle. He's gonna find that hip, he's gonna pick a side. It's gonna be the right side. Soldati turns in, close to the 2, 7 seconds left.
Clocks at 2 seconds, 1.
Nothing.
And the buzzer goes.
Nothing. This is...
What a fight in that last 30 seconds, minute.
What a shot. He needs to get back to that high crotch. Found success there. Start to work that left hand on the inside to an inside tie. You gotta snake that inside and then go right away. As Bear Claw gets to a deep shot, and Soldati's in trouble again. But he's been successful fighting this here. Bear Claw has to finish slow, and this is dangerous. Nothing here.
As they work towards the out of bounds.
And Soldati now has to understand where he's at, but this is where he's good. And
he gets it.
2 on the board for the Spartans. How about it? Chase Soldati, that's not giving up right there. Understanding, once again, this is not for yourself. This is for the family, the Spartan family. Put 3 on the board for the Spartans as Chase Soldati picks up a big takedown in overtime. Finish his shot in the Big Ten, and Chase Soldati takes advantage and picks up 3 for the Spartans. It's 11-6 now in favor of the Nittany Lions.
So they're within 5. Obviously could get there in one matchup, but here's Caleb Fish against Brady Berge. One of the wildest and most interesting stories, I think, in college wrestling right now is Brady Berge. In the spring, he announced he was stepping away from competitive action. He became a volunteer assistant coach, and then magically he's back. Got his second win of the season on Friday against number 10, Cameron Amin. And here he is today in East Lansing.
Yeah, what a story, right? To be...
Not something I think I've really ever heard in college athletics.
No, and I'm not sure you'll hear it very often.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think you'll hear it again, but good for Berge to get back on the mat, but it's one of those things that are just baffling. You know, South Dakota State, to let a member of their coaching staff go to compete against, you know, what if it comes down to Berge and a guy from Penn State, or excuse me, from South Dakota State in the round of 12 or the semifinals.
That's when they make the 30 for 30, right? That's
yeah. Story yet to be written, but either way, great to have him back, and I'm sure the Nittany Lions are ecstatic to have him back in the lineup.
Up against Caleb Fish, who won by decision on Friday night against Andrew Clark from Rutgers.
Caleb Fish, a guy who the Michigan State coaching staff is, I mean, they are in love with, because this guy works his tail off, and once again, he's not afraid to give up a takedown, to go out there and get a takedown. They say he is the pound-for-pound strongest guy in the room. And we saw that in wrestling. Carson Karchula, but a beautiful head inside single, comes up to his feet, and he's going to get 2 here. And Brady Berge
trying to stay inside the circle there.
Yeah, Brady Berge with those track shoes on. I'd hit him for stalling here. That's stalling. Great job by Mike McCormick. Brady Berge had those running shoes on, and he tried to get out of bounds as quick as possible. But that's smart here, because then you think about it. You give up the stall warning instead of the 2 for the takedown.
Rather than 2 points.
But Caleb Fish went knee pull single, so that was unique because he reached with the opposite hand first. So unique shot from Caleb Fish, but great job for him coming out here. What a first period. There are no moral victories in wrestling, right? But, oh, he has to get out. Short time left. Berge, oh, steals the period.
Right as the buzzer goes, they put the 2 up for Berge.
And that was the problem against Carson Karchula the other night against Ohio State a couple weeks ago. You saw him give up the takedown at the end of the first and then the takedown at the end of the second. And you see Brady Berge just working to that opposite hip. Found that.
Gotta love that if you're Berge. He really, period probably wasn't his, but he comes out 2-0 after 3 minutes.
Yeah, and that's one of those factors. It'll come into play later on in the match.
Lets him out there for 1, so 3-0 now to Berge, 10 seconds into the second.
Berge in on a shot again. And this is where we saw Soldati put the pressure on. Fish tries to roll down, and this is where I would hope to see him just belly down. At this point, you're going to give up the 2, and he's smart to belly down. You don't want to give up anything more. Yeah, understanding the situation, you're dead to rights at that point. Easiest thing to do is get up, give up the 2, and start to work back up to your feet. And that's exactly what he does. And this would be huge for the Spartans. I mean, if you think about Michigan only picking up,
one here.
Yeah, only Michigan dropping 8 of 10 matches. If the Spartans can come and pick up, and another stall warning. No, they're not going to call it. Oh, wow. So Brady Berge goes out of bounds again on his own.
Are they saying he was forced out? Is that what?
That's. I mean, and it was right that Caleb Fish did have the single leg, but Brady Berg, he definitely saw that out of bounds line and ran to it again.
Yeah.
Fish is in deep on. That's now the third shot. Working on that over tie on that right side, or excuse me, on that left side. 6 seconds left. You have to be smart here. Good adjustment.
So it doesn't give anything up in the last seconds in this period. Down 4. You're talking about he's okay with giving up takedowns if he can get one. He's got to get one here.
Starts with that initial move. Right off the whistle, where is Caleb Fish going? Right up to, trying to start, sits up to his feet, picks up one, now immediately back into the offense.
Pulls within 3.
5-2. And this is Bergie's third match where he's been back. So you want to see him, if you're on the Penn State coaching staff, you want to see him pushed into deep waters. You want to see what he's capable of doing in the third period as he gets to a shot.
Bergie showed, you know, he's more and more success as he goes. Picked up a top 10 win on Friday, 2 days later. Can he continue it? Gets 2 more.
Yeah, off of Caleb Fish's shots. And Fish looks over at the coaching staff. But there's one thing that I can guarantee you. There's 1 minute and 1 second left on the riding time, and this was a talking point after the Ohio State duel. Caleb Fish ended up getting beat by Carson Karchla. But what happened that I really paid attention to was in that third period. He picked up a takedown to end the match, and although he knew it wasn't going to win him the match, he continued to wrestle for 7 consecutive minutes. And Bergie, again, with those running shoes on, they have to hit him again. Yeah, he just picked up a takedown, but if it's going to be called how it was, that's it.
Fish keeping that toe in right now.
Stalemate, back to neutral, no change.
We're hearing shoot up the body, right, from the Michigan State bench.
Yeah, Justin Oliver
Talking
wants
to
Brady Berg.
Fish.
Or, yeah, excuse me, he wants Fish to get to a shot and come double underhooks. Down by 4, you got to go big here.
30 seconds.
Finally.
They're again right at that edge. Single digits on the clock. Fish is still working, like you said, Eric. He's gonna go right till that buzzer sounds.
Yeah, and I would have hit Bergie a couple more times in that third period.
Three more on the board for Penn State, thanks to number 16, Brady Berge already. Carter Starocci and Marty Larkin. Starocci, of course, number 1 in his weight class.
Just about to say John Murphy, Freddie Doremus, Marty Larkin, St. Rita. But Marty Larkin, not giving up. So it'll be 6-0 after that cradle. And now look at this, Marty Larkin with 2 on Carter Starocci.
Jeez, I don't think we expected that. At least not this early, less than a minute in.
Did they not have near fall?
I don't think so. unless they're coming over now and checking with the scores table.
Because I'll tell you what, Marty Larkin is not, during his summer break when he's sacrificing going on all the trips with his friends or his spring breaks or his Christmas vacations being cut short to practice, Marty Larkin's not thinking about Carter Starocci. He's thinking about how can I improve myself? How can I help my team? So you don't wrestle thinking that you're going to go out there and lose. That's the difference between the Michigan State Spartans of today and the Michigan State Spartans under Coach Tom Minkle. When Coach Tom Minkle was the head coach of the Michigan State Spartans, it was clear that the direction of the program needed a change. They needed a change in philosophy. They needed a change in coaching staff, and that's exactly what they did. They elevated Coach Roger Chandler to the head coaching position.
What did he hurt there?
That's his knee. It looked like Starocci. And this is nothing, I'm not saying Starocci did this on purpose. He absolutely did not. 0% chance of that. But when he was riding on top and had that left ankle pulled out, sometimes that knee goes along with it. And anytime it comes out towards the hip, referees need to stop it. And nothing that make it as clear as possible. Nothing that Mike McCormick or Carter Starocci could have done. So you see it starts to come out towards the hip, and anytime that's dangerous.
And then they do get in there right away, so well done.
And it was injury time, and you know, coming from St. Rita High School in Illinois, that you're going to get some toughness from Marty Larkin, just knowing, I believe Albert White as well from St. Rita High School. And now Starocci sits, and this is where Chase Soldati also picked up a reversible. Marty Larkin doing a good job riding, now throws in that left boot. We talked about the... Now Starocci goes back to that toe, and this is... Look at his movement on top, or excuse me, on bottom.
So smooth.
So smooth. And it was all with the intent to create some hip separation. So Starocci, there's a reason that he has a 1 next to his name. Like I said, it takes 3 positions, neutral, top, and bottom. And a lot of people don't put emphasis on the bottom position because it's not flashy. You're not going to build a sport of wrestling from wrestling on bottom, but you need it to win NCAA titles, and you're seeing why Carter Starocci's an NCAA champion. Looks like we're going to get 4.
So after that review, they did leave the score the same. Obviously, it's changed since then, 11-3 now for Starocci in the last 30 seconds of this first period.
Working on another set of near fall. And you see how theatrical he is when showing the referee how I'm breaking the hold. So he broke the hold, which in turn gave him 4 more near fall and then came right back to it.
Wow, a lot of 15 points through 1 for Starocci.
Yeah, and this is all just, you see how he's showing the referee, hey, I broke the move from the top position, but in reality, is he really breaking the move if he has? That's something that I would be curious if there's ever a discussion, because he still had that hip locked out, and he did break the upper body, but never broke the lower body. And either way, it is what it is, but he gave up the near fall, and you can tell Marty Larkin is hurt.
Still that knee, right? It's gotta be.
Definitely. This is going to be.
The referee gets caught in there.
The match of the duel. Cradle locked up, but Starocci doesn't know where no clue where he is, and Mike McCormick lost himself as well, but
here we go.
Mulcheski.
This is the one we said keep your eye on today, the 184. Number 1 Aaron Brooks against Lane Mulcheski, who pulled off one of the better upsets we've seen from MSU Wrestling in recent times against number 5, John Poznansky on Friday.
Yeah, Mulcheski's going to have to be comfortable here. Aaron Brooks is going to take away his space. He's going to dictate the pace of this match. He's a guy who has not only Big Ten experience, not only NCAA experience, but he's done it all on the world level. He is a world champion, is Aaron Brooks. So he has been coached by the best coaches. He's had the best workout partners in the world. This is not just for the Big Ten Conference. When you look over and you see the likes of Cale Sanderson, understanding that he has Olympic champion David Taylor in the room, he has Olympic champion Kyle Snyder in the room, Olympic champion Jake Varner in the room. But this is an opportunity for Lane Mulcheski to see what wrestling's best has to offer. And I touched on it in the opening. When I was talking to Coach Goodale the other day, he said, Eric, I could tell you on the record, you know what? I can even tell you off the record. It doesn't matter. Aaron Brooks, to me, is the most complete wrestler pound for pound in the country. And when you think of that, you look at Minnesota having Olympic champion Gable Steveson, who knocked off 3-time world champion and 2-time Olympic medalist Geno Petriashvili, one of the most dominant heavyweights in recent memory, to win an Olympic title. You have a guy like that in the same conference, yet there are Big Ten coaches pointing to this guy right here that we're watching with the Penn State singlet on as the nation's top pound-for-pound wrestler. And Lane Mulcheski doing a great job here, 2 minutes into this period, keeping it 0-0. And this is, again, the knees going out towards the hip. I would stop it here. Yeah, and it's concerning. Everyone else is saying watch the knee, but Aaron Brooks is smart here. And this is what Lane is so dangerous here. He's long, he's lanky, but Aaron Brooks is going to have to pull this back into the center of the mat, cut off that out-of-bounds line.
There he goes, and he does it. He yanks him. What are they saying? They're saying trap his hands?
They're saying attack the hands. So what they want is for Lane Mulcheski, and we saw this earlier with Brady Berge picking up a takedown against Fish late to end the period. I'll tell you what, if he can get through 4 seconds, this is great job by Lane Mulcheski.
That's a performance from Mulcheski there.
Big for Lane Mulcheski to get out of the period even.
Zeros on the board after one period between these two. Brooks, of course, coming off that win against number 2 Miles Amin, bronze medalist in Tokyo, a 3-1 decision for Brooks on Friday.
That was one of those things where wrestling fans were asking the question. You have a guy like Miles Amin. Of course, when you think about the guys on the world stage, not only who Miles Amin have lost to, Hassan Yazdani Chirati from the Islamic Republic of Iran, Olympic champion in Tokyo. David Taylor, Olympic champion in Rio. David Taylor, Olympic champion in Tokyo. Artur Naifanov, world and Olympic bronze medalist. And then for Aaron Brooks to defeat a guy who is on that level is just, it says a lot about Aaron Brooks. I think we've pumped him up enough, but
the question was asked and the question was answered.
Absolutely. He is the top guy at the weight, and there are no more questions. Go green, go white, the chance here in Jenison.
Then they get answered with Penn State's as well, who we have to say traveled very well.
He's doing a great job. He has to sit Aaron Brooks to that left hip, and now he has to be cautious of what Aaron Brooks is going to do in that. Oh, this could be trouble for Aaron Brooks. I think Mulcheski's in a better position here to finish, at least get a reversal, get one here. Now he's going to have to duck it. He's going to have to go head underneath that left leg. So Mulcheski has to put all his pressure, but the riding time is continuing to to build in favor of Aaron Brooks, and Brooks is going to build his hips back up, and Lane just bellies down. But Brooks looking to work on top, has that wing on the left side. And this is one of those matches where stallings could come into play. I'd like to see Mulcheski crawl those fingers forward, but Brooks, that's a vet move right there. You saw him bring that left knee to the wrist of Mulcheski's, to the left wrist of Mulcheski, and he inched it in. And what that did was allowed him to bring that bar a little closer to the hip. But either way, 2 minutes of riding time.
Yep. And that could definitely come into play the way we're at right now. So 0-0 after 2, just 2 minutes left to go. Mulcheski holding his own, but that riding time could be big.
Yeah, what you can't do here if you're Lane, you understand, give up the escape rather than a reversal. So 1 is going to be more important than 2, and Lane likes to ride legs, and it gets dangerous here. This is what I was going to say. I don't know if I'd like him riding legs. I think I'd put him on our feet and work to get a takedown here. This is going to be a stalemate. We're going to go back. No change in position.
You think he's worried about trying to get that riding time down?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get the 42 seconds on Aaron Brooks. I think if anything, it's more about keeping the weight on the hands for Aaron Brooks. And if you do give up anything, it has to be the escape. And he does that, and now Mulcheski lackadaisical incoming, but Aaron Brooks right back, and he turned an escape into 3 points. When you can immediately get to your offense right off an escape, it's a game changer. And keep in mind, Lane Mulcheski is also coming off an injury as well. Lower body injury kept him out against Ohio State. So these third period, especially with a guy who is constantly attacking for 7 minutes like Aaron Brooks,
it's got to start to wear on him.
It's starting to wear on him, yeah. But Mulcheski, this was a gauge for him. Like I said earlier, this was not one of those, hey, I have to wrestle Aaron Brooks. I don't want to do this. This is one of those, I get to wrestle Aaron Brooks. This is an opportunity for me to see how I stack up against the nation's best guys.
Yeah. And if he can go 1-1 on the weekend against top 5 guys, and the loss is a pretty respectable one.
Yeah, curious how the rankings are going to look. Where do you put Mulcheski after pinning John Poznanski and going 4-0 against Aaron Brooks, especially after Brooks is coming off a weekend. I mean, he beat John Poznanski last week 10-2, so major decision there, and then just beat Miles Amin. So
things are looking up, if they weren't already, for Aaron Brooks. The winner by decision here is 3-0. Greg Bulsack on Friday. He's taking on number 2, Max Dean.
And how about that win against Bulsack on Friday night? Down 4-3, or was it 3-2, heading into period number 3. Picks up a takedown, picks up 4 near fall, and then like we saw with Starocci, allows Bulsack to belly down, shows the referee, they give the 4, and then he goes right back to it. So in a span of 20 seconds, he went from being down 3-2 to being up.
Was it 12-3 at that point? It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and ended up picking up the major decision for the Spartans. And Bulsack just had no clue what was going on. He was lost. Couldn't believe that he gave it up.
Dean went to OT on Friday against number 8, Patrick Bruckey. Won it with a takedown, 6-4.
Yeah, and interesting to note about Max Dean, he actually grew up in East Lansing. Max Dean's father, Dave Dean, was the former assistant coach here at Michigan State before heading on over to the Lowell Red Arrows to build a dynasty for that program. And then Max Dean Followed his brother, two-time NCAA champion, three-time NCAA finalist from Cornell, Gabe Dean, to Cornell, where he reached the NCAA finals a few years ago with an upset win over Miles Martin, the NCAA champion from Ohio State in the semifinals. Look at this, watch this knee. Cam Kaffi put himself here, but also that's dangerous. And then Max Dean transfers from Cornell over to Pennsylvania State. I mean, what would the lineup look like if Max Dean was here at Michigan State? That would have been something. You would have, I think at that point, you would have had potentially, this is something to think about. Obviously with the ties, I don't think Max Dean would have ended up at Michigan State, but I'm saying, hypothetically, you would drop Lane Mulcheski from 84 to 74. You would drop Cam Kaffi from 97 down to 84, and then this is where you would fit in Max Dean. And then you put Michigan.
And that's a back half of a lineup.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I don't think we can understate what these Michigan State Spartans have done this season. You keep in mind at 65, where you have Caleb Fish at now, or 74, either one of those, you would have inserted Jake Tucker, who was an NCAA qualifier for the Michigan State Spartans, came back for an additional year, but ended up tearing his pectoral muscle. So that's at 65 or 74. And then at heavyweight, Christian Rebataro tears his UCL, has Tommy John surgery. So you're taking out 20% of your starting lineup, and the Michigan State Spartans are 8-1 on the season, 3-1 in the Big Ten, with back-to-back, not back-to-back wins, but over the last week, 2 wins, a win over Purdue, who was ranked, and a win over Rutgers. So a pair of ranked wins in the last 7 days. It's just amazing what this Spartan coaching staff has done, especially this year, given 20% of their lineup is out.
I think Friday was like a really interesting, stepping stone along the way. It almost felt like a heat check. We saw that they could get a ranked win on the road, but maybe that was a fluke. Friday, I think, proved that it wasn't a fluke and that this team is here for real.
And Cam Kaffi's so difficult to finish on, and this is where he could go big. And again, Max Dean, they got to hit him for stalling. No. I mean, that's a stall call 7 days a week.
I think he made his way out of the ring as quick as possible.
As quick as possible.
Cam Kaffi going right after it again.
And there goes Kaffi picking up 2 for the takedown, and now gets the leg and comes. And this is where he scored the back points. That's near fall 1. Oh, as close as you can get. And that's exactly what happened Friday night with Bulzak. This is where he picked up, went double boots.
And it just kept snowballing on top of each other.
Yes.
The points just kept coming.
I think Kaffi's in trouble here. This is where he just give up the 1. He's smart there. He knows the implications of this match.
They're working the edge right here.
They are. And this is where Kaffi has to get off his knees. You're seeing Max Dean come up to his feet, and Kaffi's working off his knees, go out of bounds, continued action. We go back to the center. It's 15 seconds left. We touched on this with Caleb Fish. Cam Kaffi has to get out of this period scoreless here. Not only scoreless,
to do it.
Not only scoreless, but also stall-wise as well. 3, 2, 1, time.
So he'll take that, right?
Absolutely.
2-2 after 1.
2-2 with 46 seconds of riding time. Where's he going?
I don't know, but he looks like he's a little out of breath here. That was a difficult one for him as you check out the replay there.
Yeah, that was close. As close as you can get to a call. Cam Kaffi, he's going to have to dig deep here.
Penn State fans weren't happy in that little break with how long he was taking to, I think, get back into position.
And Max Dean's a vet. He's going to stay low. And this is the thing, is he doesn't have to do anything, right? Max Dean just has to stay on top and ride. And now Max Dean is high. I think Cam Kaffi's going to use this to kind of bit. We saw that he was a little gassed, and you're seeing, I think he's going to stay down here for a little bit, and you're going to see an explosive Cam Kaffi.
Right at the edge here again. Riding time now in favor of Max Dean, just switched over. 1 minute left to go in the third.
And if Cam Kaffi doesn't get out, Max Dean will win this match.
Right.
By riding time.
It's gonna be 3 or 4 seconds. He's up. And he escapes.
30 seconds left. And he can, and this is where they're gonna hit him with stalling. Watch. Even after Max Dean.
Take him out of bounds. 23 seconds on the clock, Kaffi up by 1.
Kaffi up by 1. Kaffi hasn't been hit for stalling either. So he can just circle to the out of bounds line.
Number 2, Max Dean. Down by 1, 15 seconds left. Everyone in the Michigan State side wants 2 points for Kaffi right now. 10 seconds left to go. Kaffi's just about there.
And Kaffi keeps that in.
And he gets it.
Kaffi ups it. Kaffi with the upset over Max Dean. 12-0, 12-1.
These last 4 wrestlers for Penn State, Eric, were 44-0 coming into today. That's their first loss of the season. Cam Kaffi, take a bow.
Moves to 21-5 on the season and gives Max Dean his first loss of the year.
That was impressive. Also just a really, really fun match to watch. Now Brad Wilton, clearly the underdog here against number 4, Greg Kirkfleet.
And Kirkfleet's another one of those guys with world level experience, a world champion a few years ago at the cadet level. And this is a guy who, you know, it raised some eyebrows, to be quite frank. He went from committing to Oklahoma State to committing to Minnesota to committing to Ohio State to committing to Pennsylvania State. So this is where he's ended up and fighting off injuries and now coming back. A lot of people counted Greg Kirkfleet out. When you think of the likes of, you have Mason Paris, Tony Cassiope, you have Gable Steveson, but then everyone counted Greg Kirkfleet out, and he, after Friday night with that win over Mason Paris, proved, to me at least, that he is the number 2 heavyweight in the country behind Gable Steveson. And you know what? I think he, honestly, those guys, I think it's going to be a closer match than people expect. Gable Steveson is obviously next level and an Olympic champion, but Greg Kirkfleet's not just going to go lay down out there. You remember a few years ago with Anthony Cassar, Penn State, if there's one person or one team who has the recipe against Gable Steveson, it'd be Coach Cale Sanderson, and we know what he's able to do in March. Somehow he finds a way to get his guys atop the podium. We saw it with Roman Bravo Young last year against Dayton Fix. No one really, I would say, Penn State fans probably believed it, but majority of wrestling fans thought that it was a lock for Dayton Fix to win, and Penn State and Cale Sanderson finds a way.
So that's it for the heavyweight matchup. Kurt Fleet with the win in the first period.
Team in the country, and there's no question about it.